Well, hello and welcome to today's episode of the Power of Your Mind podcast. You are listening to episode number 194. I'm Victoria Gallagher, the Law of Attraction hypnotist and number one bestselling author of Practical Law of Attraction. Align yourself with the manifesting conditions and successfully attract your desires. And I'm also the founder of hiptalk.com and HypnoCloud apps, which gives you access to over 500 hypnosis recordings right in the palm of your hand. So be sure to download that app from the app stores today. And today I have a very special guest with me, Amira Alvarez. Amira is the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman, a global coaching company helping entrepreneurs, empire builders, athletes, creatives, and rising stars in all fields to achieve their dreams and goals in record time. As someone who has made a quantum leap going from barely making six figures a year to making 700,000 in 1 year and then going on to seven figures and live to tell about it, she knows exactly what tactical strategies and mindset shifts are required to get out of your own way and live life on your own terms and master the art of achieving any goal you set your mind to. And she can be found on the Unstoppable Woman podcast and also over on Facebook at the Unstoppable Woman page. And today, Amira is going to be sharing some of her insights on mindset shifts. So welcome to the show, Amira.
I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on board. You are going to be talking on a very valuable, very interesting, very inspiring topic today on getting out of your own way and moving on to making those 6 and 7 figures. So I am really, really excited to bring this topic to our guests because I know our guests are all about being successful entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for sharing your advice and your wisdom with us.
Of course. My pleasure.
So tell us just a little bit about yourself and, how you got on this journey of, being an unstoppable woman coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So fundamentally, I was running my own business. I had my own business in a different field, a different industry, and I had to learn how to run it, right? I had to figure out all the things from marketing to sales. And I had that entrepreneurial spirit. I was very driven and excited by it as well. And it was in a completely different field. It was in the mind body field, right? I was working with people hands-on and all of that. And I loved it. And I was very successful in my first few years in business. I hung out my shingle thinking people were going to come, but it turns out you have to do some things in business to do sales and marketing, right? And I had a lot to learn. And then the people who I was colleagues with who were in my field started asking me how I was being so successful and what was happening. And I started coaching them on how to build a business. So that's where the real love of teaching and coaching initiated and came from. And then ultimately it grew into my own coaching practice. And I work primarily with women entrepreneurs, but there's a few men behind the scenes as well. And I really realized that along the way, you can know the tactics, you can know the strategies, but if you have a block about doing it, if you have an internal belief that says, that's not who I am, that's not how the world works, that's not right, something that's contrary to consciously what you say you would like to do, you are going to find any number of ways, and it will be not so obvious that you are self-sabotaging, but you will self-sabotage, you will do other things, you will find excuses for not doing the work that you need to do in your business to grow it. So I became fascinated with the the idea that our identity and our self-image was really in the subconscious mind, and how do you change that, and how do you affect change so that you can really live the life that you want. And both, I have a holistic approach, both from an income perspective, but also, all the aspects of your life.
Absolutely. I love this. And we share so much in common. And, this is definitely something I love discussing, because it's so true that if, you can know what to do, and you can have all of, like you said, the skills, the knowledge, the intelligence, the resources, everything. But if you've got money beliefs in your subconscious mind, which, we pick up when we're young, that we talked about on your podcast,
Mhm.
that can really, really sabotage your success. So how did you learn about these money blocks and limiting beliefs? Did you ever have a point when you, like, where this was a problem for you, or did you just, sort of stumble upon this information?
Well, a little bit of both, right? Like when you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly, you're listening to podcasts like this, and you're reading, and people talk about money beliefs and limiting beliefs. So it sort of entered my world as I was learning about business and really studying how to grow a business. And then what came up for me was that I was, my come to Jesus story, if you will, right? Like my moment of reckoning and awakening was this night where I was sitting on the floor of my office. I was leaning up against the couch, just working on my laptop. It's probably 6 or 6:30 at night. And my husband called upstairs and was like, "Hey, babe, dinner's ready." And I was like, "Oh, thank you. I'll be right down." Like an hour later, I was still doing that one more thing. Okay.
Oh Lord, I can relate to that.
Totally, right? And this is the entrepreneur, right? Like we're driven, we know that we have the endless task list, there's so much to do, you just want to get one more thing done. And like an hour later he's like, "Hey babe, I'm gonna start." And it was not like, good guy, didn't guilt me, but I had this moment where I was like, okay, the truth is, I'm sitting on the floor in the clothes that I slept in. I had been going since the morning. It was not a client facing day. So therefore, I didn't have to shower. And the gross, icky bit was that I hadn't even brushed my teeth. Like I had, like the tiger was chasing me, right?
Yeah.
I had this urgency, this, can't get ahead. I was like, this cannot be what Oprah does. This cannot be what Beyonce does. This cannot be what Richard
Yes.
Branson does. This is not. This is. I mean, they go for more. I get it. They're driven. It's not like they're slackers, but this kind of, I can't take care of myself. I have to do everything myself, right? Like the struggle. Okay, being in the struggle. That was the big wake up call for me. Was like, this is not the woman I want to be. This is not how I want to live my life. And this can't be how you get rich. Okay. Like there
Right.
has to be a different way. Like that's not without the effort, right? Without the work, because everyone you talk to that is extraordinarily successful entrepreneurs, and I hang out with a lot of them. They've put the work in. There is the push the boulder up the mountain phase. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at some point you have to do it differently. And it was at that moment where I was like, okay, I'm going to study success. I'm going to figure out like how this actually works. And I did a lot of research, and I read a lot, and I studied, and I worked with a mentor, and I really did that deep inner work on changing I call it my self-image. Other people call it your identity. It's your subconscious program. It's the beliefs about who you think you are in this world, and how you think being a good person is in this world. And if you don't
Yes.
get that like aligned with your goals, you're not going to actually break through. You're going to play at the same level, which is what I
Oh,
was doing. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. And I'm sure so many of the people in our audience can relate exactly to what I could relate. I've had many of those days. And so I know, I know exactly that struggle of like, this is not, I'm sure. And for me, it's Tony Robbins. It's like, I am absolutely sure Tony Robbins is not sitting there working on his own website.
He's not. Yeah.
Or sending out his own email campaigns or any of that stuff. So yeah, you get to this moment where you have that kind of like the lights turn on, or at least for you it did, and for me it did. And I hopefully maybe some of the entrepreneurs out there that we're talking to, they're saying, "Oh, tell me more." Tell me
Yeah.
more. So what would you say to the person who's now kind of like realizing, okay, yeah, I've been at this for a few years. What advice would you tell your clients in that
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things you need to look at. It's not like a one size fits all, or this is the one piece of advice. But I will say, and it's a part of a larger teaching. Like we do this at our summits. We go through exactly how to shift your subconscious beliefs and your self-image, and why that's important, and how it's linked up to your self-worth, and making money, connecting the dots to that. So one thing that I really like people to get is, like, in business, there are different components of your business. There's the income revenue generating side that you have to get super, super clear about, like how much money do you want to make, right? And you can look at
Mm-hmm.
that. People get confused sometimes. Like you can look at that as top line revenue, you can look at that as profit. Just pick your number, okay? You know what it
Mm-hmm.
represents, okay? I like to pick top line revenue, and especially when you're just starting out, because that's like it's a really positive thing. Like you're really seeing the money come in. There are expenses in running a business, and you can get really caught up in that, and it can be a negative, demotivating thing. So I think in the beginning, looking at revenue, top line revenue is more motivating, and will get you more bang for your buck than looking at profit.
Right.
But at some point in your business, you have to shift so that you are looking at both. But anyways, pick the number. The other thing in business is, like, how do you want to live your life? Like with your business, do
Mm-hmm.
you like? I am someone who loves. Did I say love? Loves working. Right?
Yeah.
Like I love working on my business, in my business, both. Like it's not a lack of desire there, but
Yeah.
some people want more of like a lifestyle business where they do 4 hours a day, and then they don't do anything else. And there's different kinds of businesses. I say that part about like loving to work on my business, because I think there's two sides out there in the entrepreneurial world. There is the sort of you got to go hard, and this is the only way, like grind it out, go hard. And I'm secretly attracted, not so secret because I'm saying it, but like there's a sexiness to that kind of energy, very
Yeah.
masculine. And then there's the flip side, which is like, I don't want to work that hard. I want it to be super easy. And I kind of love both things. Like I want a delightful lit up life where I'm living how I want to live, which is probably compared to most a little bit more intense in my
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to figure out how that is. So the big concept here is get that clarified. If you don't know where you're going, you cannot change your identity. You cannot look at the limiting beliefs to see what's in conflict
Mm-hmm.
with that. And oftentimes our subconscious will make that very challenging, will kind of fog us out and say it's not okay to claim your big desires. It's not okay to say, like when I said I wanted to make 7 figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
making 138, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who am I? Like, I just wanted to shrink. Like, I didn't want to tell anyone, wanted to tell my mentor, but like, I didn't want anyone else to know. Like, I had money shame. Okay.
Mhm.
Like,
About
like
making too little or making too much?
making too much.
Yeah.
Like who am I to say to my friends, I'm going to be a millionaire, right?
Mhm.
Who am I
Mhm.
to say to my friends who, are thinking about, I was living a very standard middle class life, like who were having financial challenges, like, do I pay for this? Do I do this? Like, that like, I, I'm on my way to making $1 million, right? Like
Yeah.
now I find it inspirational, and I hope people find it inspirational. But at the time I was like, if I claim what I want, I'm going to make other people uncomfortable.
Mhm.
So I think that's one. So let me close the loop on this a little bit and pull all the different thoughts together. I think where you feel uncomfortable is a great place to start in terms of identifying that you have limiting money beliefs.
Mhm.
And therefore you have a self-image that's in conflict with the woman that you want to be or the man that you want to be. Okay.
Right.
And in order to see what the gap is, you actually have to know where you want to go. You have to claim that consciously and say, actually, this is what I truly want, and really own that, because
You know, I
desire is positive. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it's really important to a key thing that you mentioned is really shifting how you look in business. Like what does your day, your week, your month, or what does your lifestyle actually look like when you're at that level of success? Because if you don't, because that'll kind of help you to physically shift what you're working on or how you're spending your time. Like you actually have to define, like, am I the type of person that's super driven and, working most of the day? Or am I the type of person, like you said, that, well, I want to go get my nails done every day or whatever it is that you want to do. You have to make some sort of shift in your brain of what you look like in your day and what that feels like to be in that place. So that was a great point. I really like that.
Yeah. Here's a little nuance to that, that oftentimes when things get hard in your business, and it will get hard, okay? Because here's the thing, you want something that you haven't created yet. So you haven't done the thing that's going to get you the results. Like there's a law of cause and effect, right? If you want
Mm-hmm.
these effects or these results, there are things that you have to do, causes that you have to put into effect. And if you want larger results, you have to do different things, different
Yep.
causes than what you've done already. Therefore, by definition, you haven't done that yet. Your
Mm-hmm.
brain, your brain stem, that part of you that's like, anything that's different could kill you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is like, no, no, run, don't walk, run away from doing that new thing, that challenge. And so the nuance here is that sometimes we say to ourselves, I don't really want to work that hard, or I don't really want to work that many hours, but it's really your subconscious sabotaging you, because it's a way that your subconscious mind knows that you will agree with stopping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then
Mm-hmm.
you wake up 3 months later, 6 months later, 2 years later, whatever it is, and go, wow, I'm still in the same place and I haven't gotten that next level result. And that's where you have to take a real honest look at what's happening. Like, look at your results and see, are they what you want?
Absolutely. Yeah, that I like that distinction there of, really, we may be telling ourselves things just to kind of let us off the hook, but it's because of that subconscious programming that is, and all decisions, I believe, are first made at the subconscious level. And then we just use that information and justify it consciously. And so that was a really, really good tip there. So
Yeah.
what are some mindset shifts that you've experienced during your career?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that just popped for me when you were saying that was like when you were on my podcast, when I interviewed you, and because that was fun and we talked
Yeah.
about similar
Yeah.
things, but from a slightly different perspective, you
Mhm.
mentioned that the subconscious mind drives 95% of our behavior patterns. So if you think
Mhm.
about this, everything, like our subconscious mind is telling our conscious mind what to think about every single decision that we're making. Okay,
Yes.
so it's a little you get caught in a closed loop cycle
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
So you have to really, there's some tricks like looking at the results and saying, is that what I want? That gets you out of the subconscious saying, most well, often it will get you out of the subconscious like loop of telling you what to think about all the things that are coming into your life. So
Yes, it
yeah.
is a loop. And it's interesting because, it's, I mean, we consciously will look at our results and say, I'm not happy with that. So then, well, I'm going to tell myself to do this instead, but it hasn't really shifted from where it really needs to shift from.
Yeah.
And so unless you get into the subconscious and rewire your subconscious. You've got to rewire it. Otherwise, you're just going to stay in that same loop.
Correct. Correct. So one of the things like I had to really change my self-worth, okay?
Mm.
My sense of what I deserved.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that we're all born into this world worthy. Like on a spiritual level, we're all worthy. So
Mm-hmm.
then why was I not feeling worthy on like the human plane, the physical plane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like why was I feeling like I didn't, you mentioned manicures earlier, like maybe you just want to get a manicure every day. Like I wouldn't, I remember standing across the street from the nail salon, and it was a shishi nail salon, but it wasn't just a nail salon, thinking, kind of pacing back and forth, thinking, can I go get a manicure? Not like I wanted to get a gel manicure and it was like $45. And I was like, I didn't think that I deserved it. Now, my mind said, my mind did not say you don't deserve it. My mind said, what would Jack think? My
Mm.
husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a little sign for you. Like if you're wondering like what other people think about the way you spend money, that is that's a trigger that you can use for assessing the truth of what you believe in. I didn't know what to believe in. I like my identity was so caught up in doing what other people thought was right. Now, you wouldn't know that, Victoria, from the outside. From the outside,
Right.
I was confident. Maybe I wasn't as well dressed or well coiffed, and maybe I didn't get manicures, but I was a confident woman.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't have known that from the outside, but inside, I was constantly going, well, what's the right thing to do here? And like looking around and trying to figure, I didn't have that inner core knowing. And so I really had to work on raising my self-worth. And I did that in a variety of ways, but two primary ways. One was taking new action from the place that I wanted to be, not from the place that I was currently,
Mm.
and constant space repetition of the new beliefs. So getting that manicure anyways, flying first class anyways, even though I didn't think I belonged there or that I didn't think that I should spend money on that, right? Like doing the thing that I thought the woman I wanted to be did. Now, don't get into magical thinking about this, because like it's not like you just spend the money and the money rains
Money
from the
just comes.
sky, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
But you start behaving, you start acting like the woman that you want to be. It causes a lot of discomfort inside. It will
Mm-hmm.
feel wrong because your subconscious is still attached to the old identity,
Yeah.
but you do it anyway. And you then recognize that this is the level that you want to live at, work at, and you do that, calls you up to a higher level of work, and you do the things in your business that create that. Does it make
Let me
sense?
make some, yeah, absolutely. And I want to make, because you made a very good side comment, that not to get into magical thinking, not to just expect that you're going to magically have money fall from the sky because you spend $2,500 on a first class ticket,
Right.
right? So what would what would you say are some examples of some ways that you can begin to act from the future self that you want to be, but also within your true, levels of abundance that you have
Yeah.
right now?
So I believe in stretching yourself.
Hmm.
Okay. So I don't believe in going bankrupt. Okay. But I
Right.
do believe in stretching yourself. So that manicure was a stretch for me. Okay. It was
Yeah.
$45. That is not the same like level of expenditure as a first class airfare. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to shop at slightly nicer stores. Like I was shopping at Target, not going to ding Target, but like, I would buy the clothes and then they would get all stretched out after the first wash. And, like I was not feeling like $1 million business owner in that. Right. So I started incrementally buying new clothes at different stores, at little boutiques. Then I got a stylist to take me shopping. And then I started shopping at Neiman Marcus, and that scared the bejeebers out of me. But then I started, right? But then I started shopping at Neiman Marcus and not looking at the price tag and just buying what I wanted, right? Like I did these little incremental steps as quickly as I humanly could.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So that instead of saying later, I did it now, but I didn't go from manicure to not looking at the price tag in one fell swoop. I did it very quickly, but I did one step at a time. I call it running the stairs. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like how quickly can you move through those blocks that you have? Like close the gap on time instead of saying, okay, I'll do that later. And
Hmm.
each of those things was a stretch. And then um, my mentor said to me, and I say this to my clients, he was told this by his mentor. It's like been passed down. Okay. Like back of the car, front of the plane.
Hmm.
And at first I was like, that is such an elitist thing to say. All my stuff came up, right? All my money
Mhm.
stories. Like, who says that? Like, I don't need this. That's ridiculous. I can't afford this. Right. And I was totally triggered by it completely. And then I was like, oh, I get it. I need to put a demand on the universe, which is putting a demand on yourself, like stretch myself, and then I'll rise to that level. Okay. Like you actually have to invest in yourself at a higher level. And I've done this, like these are all well, I mean, flying first class is a business expense oftentimes, but some of them are in my personal life and some of them have been in my business life. Like make decisions from the place I want to be, not from the place I am now. And it's
Yes.
super scary, but once you get used to it,
So it's like
you
it's in a way, it's an energetic shift because you're taking an action. And boy, I mean, if there's one quick way to speak to the subconscious mind, I believe taking that, taking that action as if,
yeah,
acting from like you said, from the place that, is already created for you. Um, but you have to have that belief in yourself, and you have to, you have to really commit to that, to
yes,
becoming that person, that's, you know, that's in alignment with those things that you're doing. You have
and
to.
you have to match it to the business strategy, right?
Absolutely.
Like it's not like you just keep throwing money out there in the world. I mean, sometimes in business you're spending a lot of money to, there is that concept you have to, have money to make money, which is not true, but that business does require that you have money to invest in it. Okay. And anyways, you have to do the work. Like the business strategy and the business tactics are actually really super, super critical. That's why I love integrating the two and not making it separate, like making the shifts in the the subconscious related to all aspects of your life, business and personal. Yeah.
Yes, I love this so much. This is my favorite conversation. So I'm, I'm really, really gobbling this up. So let's talk about when you say that you can achieve your goals faster than you ever thought possible, because I'm sure a lot of people want to know how to, how to do that. What exactly does that mean, achieving your goals faster than you ever thought possible?
Yes. So there's so many different ways we could look at this. The whole changing your whole self-image and identity and belief structure is one of the fastest ways to do this. Absolutely. But then you have to match it with action. Okay.
Mhm.
And I did that, and that's how I teach, that's how I coach. But I also coach through the lens, and I think this will be right up your alley, through the lens of universal law. And
Mhm.
I've studied that in depth. And if you work, we live in an ordered universe. It's not random, it's ordered. Order is heaven's first law, right? Like it's ordered. And yet, the way we were brought up and conditioned to think, so old belief patterns, not because our parents are wrong or bad, but just because that's how they were trained to think, and it keeps getting passed down. If you don't do the work to undo those belief patterns and really understand how the universe actually works and work according to law in this ordered fashion, you will constantly be like, why can't I get ahead? Like constantly working really hard and saying, why can't I get ahead? And there is a methodology to working with the universe instead of against it, or swimming upstream, or however you want to say it. And once you understand the laws and can apply them and consistently, and you're doing it from a higher level of awareness than you were before, you start making money in a way that will, generally speaking, blow your mind. And it can be other goals besides money also, right? Because some people, like I did it to go from being a couch potato to finishing a marathon, right? I've used it for different things. I'm back to being a quasi couch potato now, but but I did like make, and I did it in a very short period of time. And it was because I was able to see opportunities through this lens of the laws that I couldn't see when I was not aware of how to think in this way.
Beautiful. And yeah, just for those of you who are listening who maybe you don't want entrepreneurial wealth, these things that we're talking about can be applied to anything, to your, having the relationship of your dreams, having the body of your dreams, being able to, run a marathon. All of these things, you still have to, if in order to have something that you don't have, you've got to change your self-image, change your self-worth about that, and be in alignment with these universal laws, which are always at play and always guiding us. So that's some amazing wisdom there. So you remind me a lot of myself when it comes to our energies, I think, we have a tendency to run things, or at least, that's the way I pick up on you is, we both have that masculine energy,
Hmm.
but, you can't just do this from masculine energy. It doesn't work. You have to combine and balance both energies. Would you agree with that?
100%. Yes.
And, so, and I think, sometimes women have a tendency to, feel like you have to, because maybe historically this was a man's world. And so you almost like feel like you know, unconsciously, I think you step into a more masculine role to try to make things happen, right?
Yeah.
So how do you balance your masculine and your feminine energies
Yeah.
as a woman running a seven-figure business?
Yeah. I don't always do it perfectly. And that's the honest answer. Like there are days or weeks where I look at my calendar and I think, what was I thinking? Like this is right. Like this is insanity. But so I do a lot of intuitive connection with myself, right? Like when I am facing or making a decision in my business, I approach it from the feminine. Like, what am I receiving in this situation? How am I taking this in? What is my intuitive knowing? And so I integrate it into what seem like very masculine aspects of business: decision making, accountability, getting the work done, the structures, the systems. Like, how can I bring my natural deep feminine essence into play in this? And so instead of separating them, I really integrate them, and that's become quite natural, though it wasn't initially. That has become quite natural. The other thing I do, because men and women both have the masculine and the feminine in them, right? It's
Hmm.
not that it's not like men don't have the feminine essence, the yin in them. But a few things that I do as a woman running a business is I now spend time getting dressed in the morning. You know, I told you my big revelation and sitting on the floor, not having, brushed my teeth or, taken a shower, right? And so now, like, I spend some time with myself, getting dressed, putting on some makeup. If it's not a makeup day, I'm still putting myself in a place where I look at myself and I think, wow, you're beautiful, right? Like, and like I'm appreciating the adornment, the my beauty as a woman, my sensuality in this world. And I think bringing that into my business, instead of saying that that can't be part of how I show up, is a really important piece. And I'll give you a third one, Victoria, because there's so many different um, ways I do this. But the feminine or the yin is kind of chaotic, right? It doesn't like the structure. It likes the flow and the free form.
Right.
I figure out how to give myself that space, even on the days where I look at my calendar, I'm like, it's insane, right? I made a poor choice around that, right? Um, I I give myself quiet time to let all the ideas flow, let the kind of non-structured thinking happen. And generally speaking, that's early morning for me. My quiet time in the morning. It's just like it's the free flow of it. And I stopped judging the little bit of crazy that I have, right? That free flowing, uh, ideation that seems a little chaotic, and I let it be a little chaotic, and then I bring it to structure and have that play back and forth.
That is beautiful. And yeah, I can definitely relate to just needing, just making space, making time, for yourself to allow those ideas to flow, or just kicking back to read a book, or just kicking back to for me lately, it's just been telling Alexa to play some dance music, and taking a time out for 5 minutes just to listen and sing and dance, and just raise,
Put back into
just
your body, right?
yeah, exactly. It's really good to just to raise your vibe. And when we like have all that structure, it's a little stifling and it blocks that creativity. So we've got to make time to let it flow. So that's beautiful. I like those different ideas on ways to integrate both parts of ourselves, because I agree, we men and women have masculine and feminine energy. So this has just been such a delightful conversation, and we could just go on and on talking about this forever. I've really, really enjoyed this. I want to step into talking about some ways that people can take advantage of, your resources and, get to know you better. I'm sure that after listening to today's podcast, there's going to be women, maybe even men too, that are going to be interested in finding out more information, what you have to offer to help them to step into, their all their greatness as entrepreneurs. So how can you help? How can people find you? How can people, what do you have to offer these people?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you for asking that. So we have a resource page on our website. It's theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. So it's theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And we have, the link to our own podcast there. I mentioned the summit earlier. You can find out about the summit there. Tons of free downloads in terms of making income breakthroughs and how to scale your business, and lots of mindset, we have morning mindset clubs. So there's like tons of really good, juicy things there. So I would lead people there. And yeah, I would love for you guys to take advantage of what we put out for free.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So go over there to theunstoppablewoman.com/free dash stuff. And there's tons of free stuff. I'm going to go check it out myself. And thank you so much for all of this wisdom and information. And it was just really inspiring. And you're so accomplished and you're so inspiring. And I love that, you are taking what you have gone through in your own life and now helping other people to realize the exact same thing in their life. And so it's really, really wonderful that you're on this path and on this journey and helping other people to get on the path and get on the journey to finding true success in their life. And so thank you so much for being on the show on the Power of Your Mind podcast.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me, Victoria.
You're welcome.